morning or good afternoon, everybody. I'm just wanting to determine whether or not you can hear me. There's some sound issues on my end. If someone can just give me a quick shout out in the question box if you can hear me or not, that would be wonderful. Oh, good. Thank you, Angie. Perfect. All right. I had some last minute technical difficulties as these things that often happen. So hopefully we'll be able to stay connected here for the next hour or so. So bear with me here while I share my screen. There we go. All right. So you should be able to see my PowerPoint here. If I can just get a quick confirmation that you guys can see my blue PowerPoint slide, that would be fantastic. I have no helpers today from YRL, so I'll count on you guys to help me out. You guys see my screen okay? Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, welcome everybody. I am so pleased to have you all here. For those that I haven't met, and I think I've met most of you here on the call today, but for those who I haven't met, my name is Jessica Knock and I work at headquarters at YRL. I'm speaking to you today from Edmonton, of course, although I'll be driving into Spruce Grove in just a few hours to attend the AGM of the LAA. So I might see some of you there tonight at that meeting as well. Today we're going to be spending some time together talking about niche. I've heard it pronounced both ways, even by the founders. Niche Academy. I know that all of you have had some opportunities to use Niche Academy in the past, and I want to be talking to you specifically about how it is going to be used for onboarding. So in today's session, we are going to have an introduction to Niche Academy. So just an overview of what it is and what it can offer for those of you who are new to it or just want a little bit of an overview. I want to provide you with an overview of the YRL Staff Training Academy and all of the tutorials that are available in that, onboarding tutorials that are available in that category. And then I want to talk to you about how you in your library can use that Staff Training Academy for your own library-specific onboarding and staff training. Now, again, I know that some of you have been using this all along for that purpose, but I have some really interesting tips and tricks that I want to share with you on how to personalize that experience for your staff. And along that line, I'm going to show you three, I guess, levels. The first one being the quick and easy level, and the one that you're probably most familiar with in terms of using those tutorials in Niche Academy for onboarding. And we'll level up to level 2, where I can show you how, as a manager or as a leader within your organization who is onboarding staff, how you can have some more oversight and control over what it is that your staff are viewing and how their progress is going. And then we're going to level up one more time to what it would look like if you had full customizable control over the onboarding content. So very similar to the type of admin control that I have in creating the Yellowhead Regional Library Academy. So this is talking about how you would create your own academy of onboarding tutorials for your specific library. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I have lots of notes here. I don't think we're going to be a full hour, but we do have that hour set aside just in case. So let's get started. I'm actually going to pop out of my my PowerPoint notes here. This is it for PowerPoint, and hop right onto the Yellowhead Regional Library website where we're going to be starting our tour of Niche Academy today. So just bear with me here while I get that going. All right. And we're actually going to start on the Yellowhead Regional Library homepage. And before we hop in, I'll just give you a bit of an overview of what Niche Academy is. It is, if you're not familiar with it, an online learning platform, and one that, although I had spent many years in library learning prior to coming to YRL, a brand new one for me, and I really, really enjoy using it. It's been developed specifically for libraries, and it offers several different functions. It offers a series of, hundreds and hundreds of pre-made learning webinars on common public library topics. So when we purchase a subscription to Niche Academy, we are also purchasing access to lots of pre-made, ready-made onboarding content. It also offers a platform to build your own learning webinars. So in addition to having the pre-made stuff, you can borrow learning webinars on, create your own learning webinars on things, processes and procedures and actions that are very specific to your library. And it's quick and easy to learn. I've been developing online content for a couple of years prior to coming to YRL, and I found this one incredibly easy to use as well. And then at its most complex, and that's level 3, what we'll be looking at here later on in the session, it's a learning management system. It can be used by managers to track staff training, and it's a system that can be used. You can track staff training. So not only do you get your staff to sign up for it, you can assign them the tutorials that you want them to watch within it, and you can watch their progress as they go through those tutorials. In some cases, you can develop tutorials, or you can use pre-made tutorials that have quizzes, and you can also see their quiz results as well. So a really complex and robust learning management system as well. The other thing that Niche Academy is used for, believe it or not, it's used for this and at YRL as well, is a public-facing learning tool. At YRL, and I'm going to show you guys this, although it's not the focus of today's session. I'm going to jump in and take a peek at it with you because it's kind of neat. It's a way that libraries can develop tutorials, public-facing tutorials for members of the public to learn really anything you want. At YRL, we use it as a way to teach customers how to use our e-resources database, e-resources. So there's tutorials in our public-facing Niche Academy that have information on how to search, like Overdrive, and there's Ancestry, and there's a number of others in there as well. But libraries also use it to create tutorials for members of the public. So anything you can imagine, right? So tutorials on how to use tools and databases, for sure. That's an easy one. But think about it for programming purposes, using it on a tutorial for things like how to knit, or how to bake a cake, or all kinds of fun things that you can do from a programming perspective. Niche Academy is great for that as well. So YRL has had a subscription to Niche Academy. It's available to all YRL libraries, and we're currently using it for 2 purposes. So we offer the Academy for library patrons, as I mentioned, with the tutorials on how to use e-resources. And we offer an academy, we actually offer 2 different academies for library staff. The one that you are primarily familiar with, and that's the Library Academy with, I think we're getting up to almost 75 different tutorials that a manager can choose from to have their staff watch. We also maintain, it's still pretty new and still a work in progress, but we maintain an academy for new managers for all of the things that we talk to our new managers about when we're onboarding them to YRL and YRL's processes and procedures. So we use it for a variety of different things, for sure. Before we get going and jump into Niche Academy, I'm going to give you a couple of definitions or a couple of terms that I've already been using and that you're going to hear me use quite a few times over the next, the rest of the session. So Niche Academy is the name of the product. And within the product, there's 3 kind of discrete sections of how the information is organized. So there's academies with the Niche Academy. An academy is a huge bucket that holds all of the tutorials and content on that are available for the target audience of that academy. Within that academy, there are categories. So you can lump your tutorials into broad categories just to help make navigation a little bit easier. And then the finest and most granular sort of bit of content within Niche Academy is tutorials. And those are the individual learning objects that people actually view or interact with when they're learning content. We're going to look at all of this, but I just wanted to point out those three things because I mentioned them quite casually, and they can be a little bit confusing when you're new to Niche Academy terminology. All right, before I get going, and before we jump into Niche Academy, are there any questions? And like I said, I'm here without my colleagues today, so I'm also monitoring the questions. You are more than welcome to pop your questions into the question box at any time, and I will do my best to kind of get at it as I pause to move on to the next section. So I will be watching those. So ask questions at any time, and I'll do my best to jump in and answer. So I'm going to be jumping into Niche Academy. If you happen to have two screens or two browsers open, you're welcome to come along with me. There's nothing stopping you from coming along and having a look at the things that we're going to be looking at here today. So I want to show you the different ways that you can access Niche Academy. To get to the main academy that we're going to be looking at today, there's actually two different ways. The easiest way is to use the library website. So you should be able to see that. I've shared the main screen, and I'm wondering if someone can maybe just confirm that you can see my screen with the Yellowhead homepage on it. Yay, thank you, Angie. All right, so our main screen here, and we've actually made it really easy. We've put a button here called training, which is actually a link exclusively to our Niche Academy tutorial. So we're going to click on training. And what I did here was I took all of the categories that we have within our Niche Academy for staff, and I made them into thumbnails here on this page just to make navigation a little bit easier. I find, you know, when your first couple times going into the main Niche Academy, you can get pretty overwhelming to figure out how to navigate it. And I had hoped, I haven't heard feedback otherwise, but I'm totally open to it here and anytime, of course, as you know. I hope this helps make navigation a little bit easier. What these thumbnails are categories of tutorials within our Niche Academy. And we, of course, because it's onboarding and training for staff, you're going to see our main routine type of training topics that we would have for staff. So we're just going to hop into any one of them. And what it does is it links us into the category of tutorials for that particular topic. So I just clicked on customer service. And here we are into the main Yellowhead Regional Library Staff Academy. So I'm presuming all of you have been in here and you've seen this already. This goes into our series of 8 tutorials that we have curated. None of them actually were created within YRL. These are our tutorials that we have borrowed or are using from Niche Academy. But are 8 tutorials that outline the basics of customer service. But what you can see on the right-hand side of the screen are all of the categories that are available. You can click on all tutorials, and it's going to bring up a huge list of all of the tutorials that are available to you and your staff to use. And if you click on the various categories, it of course takes you into the tutorials on that particular topic. So that's navigation more or less for Niche Academy. Any questions or comments at this point? No? Okay. So that's the primary way that we all get into Niche Academy. We're going to obviously be delving into this quite a bit more, but I want to show you a few other entry points into Niche Academy for you. So the second is via direct link. You can actually take, I'm going to pop this direct link into the chat here. Every academy that's created within Niche has its own, took you to the wrong one, just bear with me here. Has its own exclusive link. So if I'm jumping ahead of myself here, but if you were to decide to go to level 3, for example, we would have an academy for you with its own unique link, and you can use that link however you want. So in our case, we've put that link onto our website so people don't have to remember it. But this is a link here to that same academy. I want to pop it into the chat, and I feel like you guys don't actually see the chat when I'm in the webinar mode. You know what? I'll send it to you after. Anyway, you get a unique link to it, and it's just a handy way to get yourself into the tutorial. The other way to get into our Niche Academy is the Niche Academy for members of the public. And I want to show you this one really quick if you haven't looked into it lately. I'm going to hop into one of the library websites. Angie, I know you're here, so I'm going to go look at Jasper Library. And this should be the same for all of you as Yellowhead Regional Library members. Your e-resources, of course, is fed to you by YRL. And within your list of e-resources is a link to your database called Niche Academy. What this links to is an academy that we've prepared for members of the public. And in here now, oops, let me hop in. I've pre-authenticated so I can get in, no problem. What we've done is we have populated this with tutorials on how to use some of the key databases that YRL offers to members of the public. So if you have a member of the public who's like, oh my gosh, I have no idea how to use Overdrive, for example, certainly you would instruct them as any sort of customer service interaction you would have, but you could also point out this video as a way for them to learn a little bit more about it too. So this is our public facing one. I see now that Josie, my colleague Josie, is on the call. Josie, I'm looking at this and thinking, I think there's maybe a few more tutorials that we can add to this. So maybe something we can put our heads together on and flesh out a little bit more with some new e-resource tutorials that I think are available within the Niche Academy Marketplace. So that's available. So those are the pathways into the two academies that we have for you to use. You to use with members of the public and you to use with staff members. The third academy that I mentioned, the Academy for New Managers, it's a link that we provide when we're onboarding new managers. It's still a work in progress, so we haven't launched it officially, but it is there, and that is the third academy that we maintain. So I'm actually just going to hop back to the main staff academies here. Or the main staff academy, because this is the one that we're going to be focusing on here for the rest of the session. And Josie just popped into the chat. The chat is just between organizers, unfortunately. But she says, yeah, Niche Academy is always developing more, and they're open to suggestions for developing tutorials. So we'll definitely take a peek at that and see how we can update it with new content that Niche Academy has prepared for libraries. So we're back at the Staff Academy, and I want to provide you with a little bit of a tour of this main academy here. So we'll just go back to our All Tutorials page. Getting access to this Niche Academy is really simple. And again, I know most of you have either signed up or have signed up your staff for a free account, which is available right from the Niche Academy homepage. And once you're in, because I'm an admin in Niche Academy, my screen is going to look a little bit different than yours for sure. But once you're in, you can see your account information. You can see the tutorials that you have signed up for. And so in my case, I've signed up for a ton, but not completed them because I'm in development here and I go through them quickly. But you can see all of the tutorials that you as a user have completed, all of the academies that you're a part of. So my list is really long and overwhelming, and that's because I'm always experimenting in the back end. Although I said we only maintain 3 academies. So here's our new manager academy here. I'll wiggle my mouse over it. And here is the staff academy. I've been experimenting and learning about niche academies, and I've created a whole bunch of blank academies as I've been working through topics. I need to get these all deleted for sure. But what essentially this is a list of the academies that I have either created or am enrolled in. You can see here, I'm also enrolled in an adjoining regions academy. If not all, almost all of the regions have a subscription to Niche Academy, and they all use it for onboarding purposes. And so what's been really neat is working with the other regions to share content back and forth and to view each other's academies. So we could look at things like, style and organization and how you name your categories and things like that. This has been kind of fun learning how to use that. And then as you progress or advance with your use of Niche Academy, and this again is a level 2 or level 3 option. We'll be talking about that in a minute. You can actually develop teams. And so here I've been playing around with teams. Of course, my team is Library Development Services at Yellowhead. So I've created a team to experiment with, and I've created a sample library team that we'll be looking at here in a little bit as we look at level 3. Bear with me here as I go back to my main page here. The other thing, I don't think I'm going to show you all of this yet. This little icon here shows me my options. A list of all of the tutorials. This shopping bag icon, which I don't think you'll see as a user, you need to be in admin to do that. We'll talk about how you can do that in a bit. Opens up the marketplace. So when we opened up the session, I talked to you about how you can borrow or use tutorials from other library systems that also use Niche Academy. And Niche Academy is an incredibly popular product across Canada, but in particular across the United States. And there are, oh gosh, hundreds and hundreds of tutorials that you can choose from and borrow and use or make copies of and adapt for your own use. Some of them are so specific to that unique library, or so specific and unique to that library that you probably won't want to use it. Some of them are really good and really helpful, and you can adapt them for your particular library. So as an example, if I were to go in here and type in play, you know what, I'm going to type in track. Of course, track being the name of our catalog that we share. And what comes up here are a couple of tutorials that have been created by Track Libraries. So the Track Pack app tutorial that we advertised via our newsletter several weeks ago to teach staff how to use the new Track Pack app is available in the marketplace. And then I feel like this particular tutorial here by Northern Lights Library System is actually a tutorial that we have copied and we use as our own tutorial to teach library staff how to search in Track Pack. So you can go in here and type in any keyword that you're interested in seeing what's available. Let's try very generic customer service. There are, of course, tons of customer service tutorials that have been developed not only by libraries who are users of Niche Academy, but also by Niche Academy themselves. So like I mentioned at the beginning, Niche doesn't just give you a platform to publish your own tutorials. It doesn't give you, but it also provides very high quality tutorials as well. And so some of them I can see in here. You can see on my screen that I have included in our customer service category this tutorial by Niche called Customer Service Strategies and Customer Service 101. And having taught library customer service sessions for libraries for quite a few years, I can tell you that these are really high quality. Another one that I really like that we've included in our academy, of course, is how to handle angry customers. Another really good high quality tutorial that we didn't have to develop on our own because we were able to use it as part of our Niche Academy subscription. So that's the marketplace. Settings gives me, we're going to get into the settings a little bit more here in a bit, but it just gives me some general reports that I can look at and use in terms of how my tutorials are being used, the progress being made on them, all of the learners involved in this particular academy. Support articles. Niche Academy has incredible customer service support, so we have definitely relied on them as we've been learning about how to develop and promote these tutorials. And then back to our account here. So I'm just going to go back to the main page here. So what you basically see here is there's 73 tutorials amongst 21 different categories that we have pre-selected for your staff. So for those of you who don't have time or don't have access to the back end of Niche Academy, we'll talk about how to get access in a little bit, but don't want to have access, we have curated this collection for you of tutorials that are available for your staff to use. Sometimes it can be tricky to know which ones to select, and it's hard for us to prescribe which tutorials you need your staff to want, because of course staff that you hire have different levels of responsibility and have different training needs, and that's why we've done our best to either select tutorials or develop tutorials that have that reach all aspects of library work that you're going to be doing. So well, let's just go through here, and I'm going to point out a couple of options or a couple of things that are interesting to me. So the plan of service list of tutorials, we're actually developing these right now. We have our first one up here on how to create a community profile. This was developed by our colleague who's on mat leave, Lena, about a year ago. And we have a series of other tutorials on how to put together a proper plan of service that is acceptable by PLSB and available here on Niche Academy. Definitely not a set of tutorials there that your kind of rank and file staff member might want to look at, but might be useful for managers. Our collection tutorials are also almost exclusively developed in-house for YRL users. So our collections one, how to select and order materials, was developed by our own Laura Peters, and it provides an overview of all of the tools that are available to you as a YRL library to select and purchase materials, from our own CCD and our access to ULS to some specific vendors. So this two tutorials in here that might be appropriate for pages, how to shelve, how to pack materials for van runs, all tutorials that might be of use to varying levels of staff. For staff who are going to be providing primarily customer service, maybe working at your customer service desk, we have a series of customer service tutorials here. All of these we have used from Niche Academy, very high quality. We've obviously branded them with our own logo here, just so that it makes sense to our own users. But for everything from basics of customer service to working with very specific customers. I want to point out one here, Customer Service 5, working with customers experiencing homelessness. This is an example of why Niche Academy has been such a great product for us to use. This tutorial was actually created by Niche, who contracted someone named, I think, Ryan Dowd to create this. So Ryan is an expert in how to work with people experiencing homelessness who use libraries. And when I worked for the Edmonton Public Library, we actually hired Ryan Dowd to provide this to the staff at Edmonton Public Library at great expense. So imagine my joy when I came to YRL, and of course knowing that that might not be as high on the list of concerns for rural libraries, but certainly is something that I've heard. Imagine my excitement when I saw that Niche Academy had contracted Ryan Dowd to create this tutorial that was free for us as part of our subscription to Niche Academy. So really high quality learning here. I've customized this a little bit by adding an intro card. I'm doing my best with all of the tutorials. You won't see this on everyone yet because I'm moving pretty slowly through this project. But an intro card that provides you with a little bit of information, metadata really about the tutorial, how long it's going to take, who this tutorial is best for, that kind of thing, before you then pop into the main tutorial. And this one is great. It's a combination of pictures, reading, and videos that you can watch, created by an expert in this particular topic. So kind of neat there. So what I would do is just encourage you to explore these tutorials and think about which ones might be most appropriate for the staff members that you are hiring, and then assign those specific tutorials. In no way would we ever expect that every staff member would watch all 73 of these tutorials. That's not only not doable, but not appropriate, right? Because these tutorials are for different types of jobs within your organization. That said, 73 is a lot to think about. And so one of the things that we are more than happy to do is, I guess, prescribe a course of learning for a staff member. So if you have a new staff member and you're like, hey, this staff member is starting on X date and these are their basic duties, we can prescribe some specific tutorials that this person can watch so that they can have some onboarding beyond what it is that you would be teaching them with the policies and procedures of your specific library. Our most, I guess, popular, most used tutorial on this list is one I'm sure you're all familiar with, and that is the one on creating item records in Polaris. And the reason that this one is so popular is because so many of you need to create item records for materials that you might not want to send down for cataloging at YRL, or don't need cataloging because there's a bib record already for it, and you just want a staff member to create an item record specifically for your library. Before that staff member can have access to that aspect of Polaris, we do ask that they watch these two particular videos. And so we get requests all of the time from libraries letting us know that their staff member has watched this video and they're prepared to view item records. So I wanted to point that one out as the most viewed tutorial that we have on our list of 73. All right, so let's get into the levels, the levels that I've been talking about, levels of onboarding. So level 1, setting up onboarding, is really the simplest level, and it's likely the one that you are currently using right now if you're using any of these tutorials for onboarding your staff. Basically, it's going through the list or talking to me, and we talk through that list together. Select the tutorials that you want your staff or your new hire to view as part of their onboarding. Make a list, write it down on a scrap piece of paper, put it in an email, and assign it to them to watch. Done. That is the easiest and quickest way to create an onboarding path for your new staff member. If you have onboarding checklists at your library, and many libraries do, you can include the titles of these tutorials in your onboarding checklist so that they can actually check it off and demonstrate that they're completed they've completed viewing that tutorial. So it's so simple. I'm kind of embarrassed to even offer it as level 1, but I do want to say, like, if you don't want any work, you don't want to you don't have time. Everyone wants to get into the back end of these products, but if you don't have time to get into the back end of these products and really customize it, that is the easiest way to offer these onboarding tutorials to your new staff. Provide them with a list, say, I needed to watch these by X date, done. So the pros of this particular approach is that there's no setup. You can work completely independent of YRL. You wouldn't have to, you have the link, you have access to the tutorials, you have access and the ability to set up a free account for your new staff member. It's so easy. So that's those are real pros in my mind to using level 1 onboarding. The cons, of course, is that you can't customize any of the tutorials. You can't customize or assign the tutorials from within the Niche Academy tool, and so you can't actually track the progress of your staff member within the tool. You're just taking their word for it that they've watched the video, they've received the training, done. So those would be the cons to it for sure. So that's it. That's level 1. And I've been talking so much, I should stop and just ask if there are any questions. Nothing. That's no problem. And like I said, if you have a question or something's not clear, just pop it into the question box. I have it here open, and I'm able to answer that at any time for sure. So let's get into, let's level up to level 2. And this is where I actually get to show you the back end of Niche, or the administrator side of things. So this is, you won't be able to follow along with me on this particular path because you don't have administrator access. So you can just sit back, relax, and watch me sort of talk through what level 2 could look like. And there's a big drawback to level 2, and you'll get to see that in just a moment. So I'm here in the Yellowhead Regional Library Academy, and I'm just clicking on the settings here so that I can go into the admin area. All right, so let me check my list because I don't want to miss, I have my list here in front of me. I don't want to miss showing you anything here. All right, so the admin backend is where you get to see usage stats of the tutorials that have been developed. You get to see a list of learners that have signed up for your particular academy. You can see who else is admin and assign administrative levels to various staff members in your organization. That's actually where we're going to start. So in our admin here, I've brought this up. You will probably recognize all of these names of staff members at headquarters with varying levels of administrative access here. So at the very bottom, Jessica K, this was me trying to play around with what would happen if I changed the admin levels, how that impacts the amount of data that you can view about your learners. So I'm in here twice, but this is the list of admins that can see the backend on this particular tutorial. Let's have a look at usage stats next. So in here, I can select my dates and have a look at how popular and how well used each of my tutorials are. So I can see that a lot of them have had quite high numbers of views. So it just tells me kind of, it tells me what, at a glance, what tutorials are most accessed and most used by our viewers. I can get even more granular than this and see which viewers are looking at what and what the completion rate is for each of these tutorials as well. So for example, Customer Service 1, Customer Service 101, it says here that it's had 271 views, but I'll bet that the completion rate is actually quite a bit lower because, right, people are just popping in, checking things out and not necessarily not necessarily completing the tutorial. So it gives me a nice high level look. I can have a look at the tutorial reports. Okay, this actually tells me how many people actually enrolled in that particular tutorial. And some of these numbers are quite low. So we had looked at Customer Service 101 with 200 and some views. We only actually had one person who enrolled it and completed it. So that's interesting to me and very telling and very granular. All right, I'm going to hop up. I'm going to skip over learner reports for just a moment because I do want to go in there and show you what we see and then what some of the limitations would be for people actually accessing this particular academy. But in Teams here is where I get to, on my own personal account, I get to create teams for this particular academy. So this is just me playing around with it. I don't assign these videos for my team members to watch per se, but I can go in and create new teams from the list of everybody who has ever signed up for an account within this particular academy. And I feel like I'm missing something here. I should be able to bear with me as I click around a little bit. Oh, I know where it is. Sorry, sometimes I feel like I'm still a learner with this too. In the learner reports, I'm going to open this up here, and you're going to see some of the complications with sharing this the admin of this particular academy with every single manager in YRL. I've got a workaround, not to worry, but you can see that I have an alphabetical list here of every single YRL staff member from all 40 some of our libraries and a number of our school libraries who have ever signed up for a niche academy account. So there's a bit of personal data here that we have not let them know, we haven't, that when they sign up, we haven't told them how we were going to use this data. So we keep it quite personal and quite private. But you can see for staff members here, which tutorials they've, as you click in, which tutorials they've enrolled in, when they've completed those particular tutorials, etc. We don't go in and clean up this database at all, and that's because we don't keep an up-to-date list of all of the staff members at each of the libraries. So some of these names I don't recognize, and I wouldn't go in and delete them even if they had left the organization because I just wouldn't know. So this is a list of staff members who've used this for all time, for sure. So I'm going to pop out of this. I'm going to pop back into this. Sorry, I wanted to show you one more thing. Here's where I can see the progress of my teams. So I've created a team for library development services. So that's the department that I work in at YRL. And I can see how many tutorials each member of the department has enrolled in and what our completion rate is. So very handy if you are managing a larger team. Okay, now I'll pop out of this. I'm just checking my notes here below just to make sure that I haven't missed any key and important information. Okay, so this is where we get into level 2. So knowing now that providing back-end access to managers means that you have access to all of our user data, we have to keep that private a little, And so what we can offer at level 2 is the creation of a team for your particular library within the Yellowhead Regional Library Staff Academy. And within that team, then, we at YRL, as admins, have the ability to assign specific tutorials to team members at the request of the manager. So what that means then is that we can maintain data for you as the manager or as the person doing the onboarding about which staff members have viewed which tutorials and what their progress is. And if there's a quiz associated with that tutorial, we can provide you with a marker, completion rate, or something like that. It's a workaround in that we're not giving you access to the back end. but we're providing you just via our relationship with all the information that you need about your particular team, what videos they view, and what their progress is. So there's some pros to this particular approach. You can create a unique onboarding experience for your new staff. You can work with us to assign specific tutorials, to customize what you want your staff to see. When we assign tutorials to staff, they actually get an email in their inbox with a request to view the tutorials and then a list with a link to all the tutorials. So it's very handy. They have it right all there in their email. And of course, then their progress is tracked. We can generate at YRL any report that you wish to view about your team, and you can work with us as you can at any sort of level of using Niche Academy to decide which tutorials are best for which staff. So we customize the recommendations based on what that position is and the level of authority that they have and what tasks and activities they're going to be working on. So that's level 2. And I have to say, when I was playing around with this, I was super bummed because I had initially thought we could keep, one big academy. I could assign individual managers as a supervisor and they would only see their team. And as I was playing around with it, that was just not the case. I'm actually going to go back to Niche Academy and talk to them about it, because I think level 2 would work so well and be so easy for managers if I were able to just create an experience for managers where when they log in as admin, they only see the learners who are assigned to their own team, keeping it private for everyone. So that's level 2 with a bit of a workaround. Of course, the big con is the amount of interaction that you have to have with us. Of course, it's so lovely to be able to work with all of our libraries, but I know what it's like as a manager or a director when you're in a rush and you're in a hurry and you don't have time to phone YRL for help on something and you just want to be able to do it yourself. I totally get that. So that is where level 3 comes in. This is where we get to create a fully customizable onboarding and training experience that's unique to your library. You get your own academy. So, the Jasper Library or the Whiteport Library Staff Academy with your own unique YRL. And you would choose content either from the marketplace or using the content that we have already prepared for you that is most helpful to your particular staff, highly customizable. So I want to show you a blank academy so that you can get a sense of what it is that I mean. So I'm going to hop over to my list of academies here. And remember, this is a big, huge list because I'm experimenting and playing with it. But I did create an academy called Sample YRL Member Library Academy, just for today. And it's blank. This is it. This is out of the box what a new academy looks like. I'm just switching over to edit view. So this is what we would start with. And then we would start building things out based on what you would need. So we would probably start with the settings. We would probably want to customize it with your library's colors. So that's kind of fun to be able to do. We would customize it with your library's specific name up here at the top. We would add your library's logo. So like I said, it's a very unique experience or a very good experience for your staff because it is so highly customizable. That's where we would start. We would then start to think about what tutorials are most appropriate for your staff. So you have 73 to choose from YRL. I haven't popped them all into the marketplace to be usable, but certainly if any one of our library members wants to use one of our tutorials, I'd make that accessible, no problem. But we would hop into the marketplace here. Oops, sorry, add a new tutorial. We pop into the marketplace. We could start doing some searching. Okay, I just typed in YRL. We have collections 5, for example, is shareable right now. I'd pop that one in. And there you go. We have our first tutorial in our academy here. Let's add one more. Let's add one. Let's see what's out there for it. Let's add the track one. Because of course, let's add the TrackPack app, because we would want all the staff to know how to use the TrackPack app. And we would want all of the staff to be able to learn how to use TrackPack. So let's just pop those in. And here we go. We've got 4 tutorials. Within each of these tutorials, depending on the level of access that the owner of that tutorial has provided, you can customize it to some extent. So you can take the thumbnail photos, for example, and turn it into a thumbnail photo that matches your library logo, or just a different kind of photo, just to make it a unique or customizable experience. In some of the tutorials, some of the tutorials are actually completely editable. Again, it just depends on the levels of access that the author of the tutorial has used. You can customize content in there, etc. Other tutorials are copyable only. And this is an important point. When you're using these tutorials, if you take one that you can edit, it becomes yours. And any updates to the original tutorial are not reflected in the tutorial that you've provided for your staff. So if you were to work with me to create an academy for your library, we would likely make sure that we are not editing those tutorials a whole lot, so that if you're taking the YRL tutorials and turning them into an onboarding experience for your own staff, any changes or updates we make to our tutorials are going to be reflected in your particular academy. This is especially important for some of the collections related tutorials that might have changes to policies or procedures that we need our YRL libraries to adhere to, so that things can go smoothly, and our Polaris tutorials as well. Those are all developed in-house, and they definitely change as Polaris changes. So we would work with you to make sure that all of that happens as we develop your particular academy. So we have an academy here going, and now as an admin of your academy, you now have the ability to look at your learner reports. I've enrolled with my personal and my work email on this particular sample academy, but you only see your users. So we are ensuring that the data from your library is private, and that when you're looking at your list of learners and what it is that they're doing, you're not cluttered by data from other libraries, nor are you feeling like you're invading the privacy of others. It is only your libraries. You can assign admins to the library. So anyone who would be involved in the back end of developing tutorials would be here as an admin. You would also always have a member of the Library Development Services staff as an admin as well. And that's just so that if we need to troubleshoot something for you really quickly, we have back-end access and we can just go in together over the phone and do that troubleshooting for you. You can create teams. So let's say you are a large staff and you have specific onboarding for your CERC staff versus your customer service staff versus your programming staff. I know that's not the case for most of our libraries, but let's say, we were all blessed with a staff of 20. You could create teams within here, and all of the other complete control and access. The other thing that you can do is create your own tutorials, which I think is a real plus. So we'll go back to the Add Tutorial button, and we had been choosing from Marketplace. You can actually create your own tutorial. We're not going to get into how to create a tutorial today, but suffices to say it can be as simple or as complex as you need. And it can take a variety of different data points and pieces of information and plug it in here, from Word docs to PDFs to videos to links to YouTube videos to adding your own quizzes. It can get quite complex, and it's a really fun process, and would be fantastic if you're trying to teach library-specific processes to staff and you want to have it documented somewhere. This is a really great place to do that. So That is level 3. The pros for this, of course, is that it's highly customizable. You have full authority over your learners. You can generate reports on the usage, on the completion of all of your learners. You can create site-specific tutorials, as I mentioned, quizzes, learning objects, and incorporate a wide variety of mediums in your own tutorials, in addition to having full access to the marketplace. I should mention that the marketplace tutorials are not all free. I've come across some where the owners have charged for it. I just avoid them because there's so many amazing free things on there that I can customize to my own use. The big con, the big red flag for this is that you are going to have to dedicate some staff time to creating this academy. Certainly, we would be working with that staff every step of the way, but at the end of the day, it's that staff member who's going to have to climb that learning curve and learn how to use the back end of this to make it a really high quality, unique to your library system or library product for your staff to use. So that would be the biggest con that I can think of is learning curve and the dedicated staff time to achieve that. So that is the end of my presentation. So we did an overview of Niche Academy. We talked about the various academies that we maintain at YRL, and we talked about how to use the YRL Staff Learning Academy and customize it from the most simplest, level 1, to the most complex, level 3. It's a service that we've always been able to offer, but one that we haven't, creation of these academies is a service we've always been able to offer, but one that we are excited to really roll out. And if you're interested in learning a little bit more, then give a shout out to Ask YRL, and one of us, likely me, will be in touch to start talking about how we can create a customizable onboarding experience for your staff. Are there any questions? No questions. All right. Well, you guys know me. You know how to get a hold of me if you have any questions about it. I'm going to sign off now. Say goodbye. Thank you all for hanging out with me here for the hour, and we'll see you again soon, I'm sure. Take care, everyone. Bye.